This is music, and this is finally another dungeon dive. I haven't done one of these dungeon dive videos in a while, so I figured it's about time that we jump back into the dungeon because I know that they have updated that website, Danish Demo Dungeon. It's been given an overhaul in terms of the layout, and they've started adding a lot of material to it. Also, this channel has reached 500 subscribers, and I just want to say thanks to everyone who's watched my videos, who's subscribed to my channel, who's commented on my videos, who's given thumbs up, who's given thumbs down. I appreciate all that stuff. I appreciate all the interaction, and in particular, thanks to all those members of the vinyl community who have supported this channel throughout its existence. And that's another reason to do a dungeon dive to celebrate the 500 subs. So this one is going to be a bit personal too, because we're going to have a look at a band called Ceremony. They were a local band from my hometown of Odense, and I actually would hang out a lot with the drummer, and all the members of the band went to the same kind of high school. It's called Gymnasia in Danish, that I went to as well. And that high school was kind of notorious back then for a lot of the students there being involved in the underground extreme metal scene. So it's kind of a very personal one to me. Ceremony they started out being a death metal band, and then they became a black metal band, and then they became a progressive metal band. So it's an interesting music journey they went through. But anyways, let's jump into the dungeon and have a look at Ceremony. So here we are looking into the dungeon, and as you can see, it's been updated. It looks different. You just scroll down, you get some stats, and you get the welcome text and all that stuff telling you what the Danish Demo Dungeon is all about. Let's try to find Ceremony. So we'll click bands and scroll down to see, and they are right here, Ceremony. So let's click them, or click the name. So here you have the dudes in Ceremony, and like I said, I knew the drummer. There are two demos by Ceremony. There's Pale as a Pagan Winter's Moon from 1994, and then Connected from, it says 1987, but it's from 1997. So, but yeah. So both of these demos are gems in their own right. This one here, as you can see, they have a black metal aesthetic, and they were probably the first black metal band in Odense, and probably one of the first black metal bands in the country. Now, what's interesting about this one is they had the black metal imagery, they had the black metal attitude, but the music on here is actually more like death metal. There are some black metal elements, like some black metal shrieks every now and then. But they started out a death metal band, and then became black metal, and then progressive metal. So here they have the black metal imagery down, but the music is still death metal. So you have this first track is Wandering Through the Open Fields of Dancing Shadows. That's an instrumental with just clean guitars, and it has a very 90s demo sound, obviously, because it is a 90s demo tape. Yeah. And then you got the first kind of proper track, The Mellow Fruit Playing Still the Harlot's Flute. And musically, it's all out death metal, and the guitar tone is even kind of Morris sound like, I would say, but it's death metal, and it's kind of rough around the edges, the performance, the production, but you can hear the talent is there. and the songs are not kind of typical in terms of their composition. They are kind of quite complex actually in terms of the composition. But yeah, it's rough and dirty death metal. Passing Tears of My Rain, that's another kind of mellow track with clean guitars, clean singing as well, and you even have some ladies doing some kind of background singing. And again, it's all very, very rough around the edges, but that's part of the charm, I guess. And then you have Below the Silent River Black. That's another death metal song. Just all out fierce death metal. The vocalist has his clean singing is kind of a baritone kind of voice, but most of the time, apart from this one, Passing Tears of My Rain, he does like harsh vocals, and he has like different styles of harsh vocals, some growls, some black metal kind of shrieks, and some kind of guttural growls that sound almost like a whisper, which is really interesting. So, but yeah, this one here is a gem. If you come across it, you gotta pick it up if you like just rough and raw death metal with some kind of unusual song structures. For sure, you gotta pick it up if you come across it. I've only ever seen one version of this in real life, and that's one of my friends who also went to that high school that pretty much everyone from the underground scene went to, and he was one of his classmates was a member of this band who gave him that demo tape. So that's the only one I've seen. If you come across it, pick it up. They have kind of a dark throne image, right? But it's death metal. And then you have this. By the way, let's just have a look at, because I pulled it up on Discogs, so you can see a bit better what the entire J card looks like. It looks black metal, right? Music, death metal, but they would become an all-out, fully fledged black metal band. Then this one up here, Connected from '97. Again, let's just have a look at it, because they actually have the cover artwork here. That's what it looks like. And you have this is actually pretty cool. I think it's a poster that came with it, and this is the other side of the poster. I have seen one copy of this as well, and there was a copy I borrowed from the drummer, so I could dub it, record it onto a dub tape, because that was the only one I think they had left. So I've held a physical copy of this in my hands, but I don't own one. So this here is completely different, and we are talking about a stretch of 3 years. It's completely different. This is progressive metal, and they've evolved as musicians, all of them. Their vocalist was also the bass player. He ended up being admitted into a music academy, and he ended up being a jazz musician, playing, floor bass and fretless bass and all that stuff. And you can really hear that on this demo. The bass work is just out of this world. I mean, it's kind of like listening to Cynic or Atheist or something like that. That's the bass work. And the drumming is also really precise and very much inspired by Symbolic era, Gene Hoglan. And if you can't hear it, I would say you can hear that inspiration in the cymbal work. But even if you can't hear it, I know that to be the case because the drummer told me. He was actually the one who introduced me to death. He lent me a copy of Symbolic, which I loved so much that I tried to convince him to give me that copy. He wouldn't, obviously, fair enough. So I went out and bought a copy myself. And I would hang out a lot with the drummer, because we were, like I said, in the same high school, right? And he was more advanced into the world of extreme metal, so he would kind of give me some suggestions as to, you know, some extreme metal bands that I would listen to. And we would also trade CDs. So he had some CDs that he didn't listen to anymore because he had gone, you know, further down the line in terms of extreme metal. And I had some extreme metal CDs I wasn't ready to appreciate yet. So we would kind of swap CDs like that. So yeah. But anyways, so he lent me a copy of this demo back in the day, and this is amazing. This is a gem as well. If you like progressive rock, progressive metal, experimental music, and you have come across a version of this demo tape, you have to pick it up. And if not, you can listen to the music in the Danish Demo Dungeon. So another thing that's interesting is that, like I said, death metal here, progressive metal, but somewhere in between they were a fully fledged black metal band. And I know that they made some rehearsal demos, because I've heard them, which were all out black metal with, you know, shrieks, tremolo picking. They had a keyboard at some point. They even had a flute player at some point. So I've heard their black metal. But what's really interesting is that this is kind of the end of the journey. So it's kind of like post the black metal era. And you can hear that there are some black metal elements in some of the songs, but this is progressive metal, amazing bass work, amazing drumming, amazing guitar work. The vocals are an acquired taste. He's gone more with the clean singing here. So more with this kind of baritone voice. He does some harmonies with himself. But it is an acquired taste. I don't think his singing would appeal to everyone, I must say. There are some growls and shrieks every now and then, but not that many. So musically, it sounds very inspired by, you know, your cynic, your atheist, also maybe your enslaved and your more avant-garde progressive black metal that was starting to emerge around the late 90s. The song structures are non-conventional. That's one thing that Pale as a Pagan Winter's Moon and Connected have in common. That's unusual song structures. But yeah, this is really a musical journey. You have strange guitar riffs, you have some odd time signatures, you have very melodic guitar harmonies. It's just great stuff. It's really a true gem. It's also very original. It doesn't sound like, I mean, you can hear inspirations from, like I said, maybe Cynic, maybe Atheist, and some progressive metal bands. But it's very original as well, I would say. So if you are into experimental music, into progressive metal, there almost has some jazzy elements to the bass playing as well, and some jazzy chords every now and then. You gotta check out this one. It's a gem. It's a true gem. It's really a shame that they didn't take that style of music further, because that would have been amazing. But at least we have this demo. Great stuff. I knew the drummer, like I said, very well. The other members, I've said hello to them a couple of times. I don't know if they would remember me. If you asked, they probably wouldn't. I remember going to a party in their rehearsal area. They had a massive rehearsal area underneath a supermarket. And it was just a crazy party. There was a weird Britpop band they were friends with that showed up and broke into a storage room and stole like just a top full of porno magazines somebody stored in that room. It was crazy. And I think most people who have been involved in some kind of underground scene have crazy stories like this. Those stories aside, do check out these demos. If you like raw death metal, Pale as a Pagan Winter's Moon, I'm sure that will be up your alley. If you like progressive experimental metal, check out Connected. It's great stuff. So that's Ceremony. There you go. We had a look at Ceremony and their two demos in the dungeon. Like I said, these two demos are gems. They're gems of different types, but I suggest that if you like your raw death metal, check out the first demo. And if you like your experimental progressive metal, check out Connected. They're both gems. If you come across copies of these demos in the wild, it's almost a compulsory duty for you to pick them up, except if you don't like that kind of music. But no, really, those are gems. So there you go, a dungeon dive. I will probably do some kind of contest to celebrate 500 subs. I'll probably do it next year in 2023. But yeah, there you go. Ceremony, good stuff, lots of memories as well. Thanks for watching.